Oh, this is the first time I've spoken to somebody all week, so thank you for joining us. MTD on lockdown, well, MTD podcast special on lockdown. So thank you for joining us. We've got some great content. It's already going bonkers in here. I'll turn that off. How's that for some good work? Paul, you might not be able to see him quite yet, but he's just walked through the door. Here he is. There you go. Hello, Paul. He's going to be joining us shortly. So we also have Gio. I'll do a quick bio on Gio. But as people who've watched this before might know that Thursday now, blimey, is wine appreciation night around my house. So I need to don't know how long the show's going to go. So I'm just going to get a little bit prepped. So if you just give me 2 seconds, I've got a nice, other wines are available. I've got a nice little one. It's not a dodgy one I bought off Gio, but I've got, oh, here we go. Hold on. Oh, there you go. That's popped nicely. Hold on. Oh, nearly finished. Yeah, bottle is empty. So we're and I had this great investment last week. It's called a bottle in a glass. So cheers. I might have this finished by the end of the show. So
cheers, Colin.
Moving on quickly. So I'm joined by Paul and Gio. Quick bio on Gio Albanese, a time-served engineer. Now I heard he scrapped more than he sold. Gio, you'll have to confirm that to me. He then moved on to sales in work holding solutions, and he also does a little bit of dodgy one on the side. This is good stuff. But Gio, thank you for joining us. Tell me a little bit about yourself, very briefly, and the viewers.
Cheers, Colin. Nice to see you, my friend. It's nice to catch up with you, albeit it's remotely. It'd be nice to have a glass of wine, proper wine, with you when we come out of this lockdown. No, I've been in engineering all my adult life, really, since I left school, pretty much. And from a tool maker into the aerospace industry, manufacturing parts for Rolls-Royce and Pattern, and then into sales, and then into MTD, where I am now, which is it's brilliant, isn't it? Really, I mean, we're very privileged.
We are very privileged here, and I tell you what, since we were always busy, but since lockdown, I think we've been even busier because the guys in the back have helped us with all this technology, so we can video and film remotely. You've been doing technical corners today and things like that. Anyway, we'll do a quick bio of Paul. So Paul Jones, as you may recognise him there. There you go. Thank you, Paul. He was a time-served engineer. He reckoned he did it at Rolls-Royce, but I'm yet to be convinced by that. He was in machine tool. There. So who's this purporting to be Paul? Get out. Mr. Jones, time-served engineer, sales of machine tools, top salesman in many companies. Also, I've known him for quite a few years. Also, sales 4G Renault 5s, but that's another story. Someone can ask him about that. And the brains behind MTD. Paul, he's off. He's had enough already. There you go. Well, he couldn't take his rudeness. Oh, and we've got a bit ready. See, look, I've got an old MTD shirt on. Nice to see you've dressed up, Paul. Paul, a little bit from you. Oh, no, he can't hear us. Lucky that, because I've been a bit rude about him. Can you hear us yet, Paul?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can now, absolutely. I'll tell you what, technology at its peak there. Paul, I've done a bit of a bio about you. Yeah. Any more we can add?
No, Colin, I thought it was a fantastic bio, actually. Yeah,
Have you got your wine in a glass? No, a bottle in a glass?
No, I shall wait until after the podcast professionalism and all that. You know, I'm waiting my
absolutely. So,
yeah, the Renault 5 Turbo was the correct vehicle you mentioned as well. Some time ago,
yeah.
A couple of decades.
That was an engineering masterclass. But anyway, moving on swiftly. What we're going to talk about, well, I've got a number of different points, quick points. We're going to keep it sharp, sweet and snappy. But I'm reading off my notes here, of course. I want to have a discussion. Do you think, obviously, tricky times at the moment, do you think we're going to come out better, in a better place after this all finishes? I want to talk about, should we actually be investing now? You know, big decision to make, but is it the right time to invest? And also, the Mac 2020 show. Paul, Gio, we're going to find out potentially what's happening with that. Can we promote it, things like that, or what we're doing on it? So that's what I do. First of all, though, big question: to furlough or to furlong, Paul?
Well, it depends whether you're racing a horse or you're laying someone off temporarily, Colin. Which one is it?
That's all right. That's fair. Gio, any thoughts on that, or should we just move on?
Move on. You used that one too many times on the last podcast, so yeah.
Wrong track. Right. Mac 2020 obviously being postponed to 2021. Paul, MTD, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm just checking because I've just had a note say that my audio is quite low. Is the audio any better now? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you fine. Absolutely fine.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so we have started producing a documentary / program, which is going to come out on May the 5th. In fact, Lindsay was at the studio yesterday doing some trailers for it, which you'll see on social media. But over the past week or so, we've been talking to all of our customers, all of us, all on the front line, talking about what would have been shown at Mac 2020, which of course is this week. We would have been there today. In fact, we would have just been probably concluding our day on the Star GB stand. So yeah, we've been talking about what machines, what innovations they would have been taking to the show this week, and we've been doing our best and doing a very good job of it, I have to say, actually, by looking at some of the footage of actually portraying the features and benefits of the products, talking about them, but also actually showing them via the digital sort of platforms that we're talking about now. All of that's going to go together to be a program which probably will last about an hour and a half. And what you'll be able to do is go from, product to product, which is obviously, important. And we'll be doing that on a dedicated web platform as well. So there'll be a website, there'll be it all on social media channels, it'll be on YouTube, and it will be a fantastic production. And I think the fact that I'm hopeful that by May the 5th, we'll know more about when the lockdown is going to be over, which I'm hoping will be maybe the week after or maybe a week after that. So this is a good opportunity for people to probably enjoy the last week or two of them being in the comfort of their own home to look at some great footage and see what they may have missed this week.
Well, Paul, absolutely fantastic. First of all, I'm looking over your shoulder. The comfort of your own home. Is that your own home? Because what's that sound, that thing behind you?
Can you read it?
We can read it. Yeah. Can you get out of my house? You don't live here. But no, in terms of Mac, I'm
an imposter.
An imposter, an intruder, maybe. But in all seriousness, though, the Mac show, can we mention who's going to be on it, or do you want to keep it? We've got some great new technology coming out. Anybody you'd like to mention, Gio or Paul? Or all of them?
I mean, I would say that there is. In fact, it's just been released this afternoon across channels. YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that. Lindsay did a trailer. We mentioned about probably a couple of dozen of the companies that are going to be involved, but that's probably only half the story. They're ones that we've spoken with so far. So I would probably look to be talking anywhere between sort of 50 to 60 innovations that we're going to be at the Mac show will be broadcast through this. But the names are on there as you would expect. The big names are Mazak, DMG, Mori, NCMT, Star, Citizen, Dugards, the list really goes on. Zycel, K-Metrology, the ones that Gio's been talking to, Heinbuch, Romy, it is an endless list.
Absolutely huge. Gio, any others you can make? I mean, any other companies?
I'm super excited, really, Colin. This week has given me the opportunity to talk to my clients and look at the new technologies that they would have been exhibiting at Mac this week. It's a shame we're not there. I'm absolutely gutted. It'd have been lovely to have met up with old friends and colleagues, but regardless of that, we've got to adapt and change as we are. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be discussing some of the new technologies and innovations that would have been there this week and to get an insight into them. I don't want to give too much away because I want to save it really for the show that's coming out on the 5th of May. It's going to be an absolutely unbelievable show and I can't wait. It's been brilliant for everyone to get involved and it's really brought everyone together. It's just been fantastic. It's been overwhelming, to be honest with you. There's lots and lots to look forward to.
Okay. I know Paul mentioned Zeiss, for example, you look after. What about our friend Les at Interco? He's got some
Les at Interco, he was actually going to be launching 4 brand new materials at the show. Now, if you're familiar with Interco, you would have seen them, that they're sponsors of Swarf and Chips. So you'll see them quite frequently on our channels. We would have actually been at Mac together. We'd have had a joint stand at Mac, Interco and MTD. We'd have been doing live podcasts from the stand every day, in which industry leaders would have been able to have joined us live. And we would also have been filming Swarf and Chips tomorrow live from the Interco MTD stand. not to worry, this will happen in 2021, so we've still got that to look forward to. But the 4 materials will be revealed on May the 5th that would have been released from Interco. And don't forget, they've got plenty of materials in stock. Last time I heard it was around £14 million worth of stock. So materials are still readily available from Interco. They were one of the first companies in the UK that I heard of that offered their manufacturing facility as well to make these ventilator parts. So a big thank you to Interco Special Steels and Alloys, and thank you to them for being such a brilliant sponsor to our channels.
Okay. Now, actually, not really on the script, but in terms of ventilator parts, have you got any, that's a great story from Les and Interco. Any other story, Paul, have you got any stories about ventilator parts that you've heard over the last few days? Put you on the spot there.
I've got a good story, not necessarily about the ventilator parts, but to do with what's going on at the moment. Matsuura have been using their HP 3D printer to print like the tops of the visors for PPE. And in fact, they've been doing the prototyping of these products, and now they're about to go into production. They've been working in conjunction with Nottingham University. And I spoke to Peter Harris yesterday via Skype, and that video will actually come onto our YouTube channel, and it's very descriptive. We actually picked up the visor, looked at the parts that they'd printed. We talked about how long it took to design it, how long it took to print it. But of course, with the HP printer, you can only get to a point where it's just not productive enough. It's good for producing maybe 200 or 300 parts in a day, but then you need to go and make a mold tool, and you need to injection mold them, and then that's where you get to the volumes that you need. But it was quite interesting to hear, and as I say, there will be a video coming on, but he was talking about the current visors that are being issued to some of the NHS workers are not fit for purpose. And the ones that they'd been developed with Nottingham University, they're full face shields, as opposed to what they class as some of them as an A4 size, which doesn't actually cover the, they can see me on the camera, it doesn't cover the sides of the face, and also you can get sort of contamination through the top as well. So they've addressed those concerns, and they've been working to research, develop, and design this, and it will go into production. So it's a good story. Yeah,
great story. And I mean, we're all in contact with a lot of engineers. I've just got a press release from Titan Motorsport, who are into motorsport. Great at it. It's a great machine there. But they've shifted their production to these respirator parts. So engineers are really stepping up the game. It's absolutely fantastic, really is. But what about, one thing that will affect some of the engineers out there, and moving on from the respirator and the essential pieces, oil price. How do you think, Gio, Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot because I asked Gio this the other day. Where is it? How do you think it's going to affect our engineers?
Well, I've currently got a garage full of barrels at the moment. I've been down the petrol station this morning and filled that. In fact, the barbecue I'm going to have this afternoon is going to use that as the fuel to get it going. So, I can see the benefit here personally. But hey, I suppose there's two sides to it, isn't it? When the oil price crashes, it affects the oil and gas industry, which we're part of. But then there's also cheaper fuel as well. So it's kind of a at the moment, wasn't it minus $30 or something yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. I heard it, but yeah, I think it's going to have a huge impact. Look at all these planes that are there in the that just aren't taking off at the moment. They're there, and they what can they do? It's a real poser of a problem, should we say?
Absolutely. Gio, what about you? Any feedback? Do you know any spoken to anybody about oil and gas and how it's going to affect them?
From a personal perspective, I think it's a very good opportunity to invest in stocks and shares in oil and gas. I think that, cars have got to get back on the road. Planes are ultimately going to be flying again at some point. So I don't think there's a better opportunity to invest a little bit of that money into some stocks and shares, especially in oil and gas. You're never going to get it as cheaply as this. In regards to...
This is purely your opinion and not investment advice for you.
In regards to manufacturers and the parts of oil and gas manufacturers, I know you mentioned Kale & Co. I've not really heard any stories how it's actually affected the manufacturer of parts. I did hear something on the news that there was some good news about the oil and gas and the manufacturing of components, but I've not really gone into it in great detail, Colin.
Okay. Well, I actually just had
sorry, Colin, when I was talking I was a bit put off because I've seen these notes coming down the side of the screen. I can see these comments now. They are all good ones.
How is technology for you, Paul? Is it okay or is it a bit of an issue? Well,
Sorry, I
actually,
didn't catch that.
I said, how is technology for you? Is it all right or is it a bit of an issue?
It's all right. It's all right.
I'll tell you what we'll do then. I've seen a post from Andrea Rodney at Honall. She put it on LinkedIn about giving old iPads and things to care homes for the older people. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll drop her an email. Maybe she could send one round to you and get one of the care workers to give you a lesson in how to work this technology. Would that help?
As long as they're wearing a mask.
Absolutely. But no, that's a big shout out for Andrea, actually, because she's done a cracking job and loads of people are sending in old iPads to her to share with the care homes, because these people, the older people are stuck in their homes at the moment, can't come out, and they want to be able to communicate. Good luck trying to getting work, because I gave one to my mum and she broke it with about 24 hours, and it was just it was fun time, shall we say. Anyway, moving on swiftly. So, Cal and Co. Get back to Cal and Co. Speaking to Steve, sorry about that. Sorry for my little segue, whatever it is. He was actually not too concerned because the parts he's doing are more your refurbishment parts and regular parts, so it's not an issue. So that oil and gas price has come down a lot, but is it going to have massive impact? Hopefully not. Right, moving on, guys. If I said to you, "Blast from the past," do you know what I mean?
You're a blast.
Well, actually, few Paul. Yeah, blast from the past. What does that mean to you?
To me, well, that's one of your features on the MTD network, which we all go around the machine shops and we look at the old and dated machines and put you next to them because they're generally normally about the same age. Is that wrong or right?
No, you're probably right, actually. And Gio, any comments on that?
No, I think I kind of really just back up what Paul says, really. Just looking at old, antiquated equipment and, and just kind of really looking back into the past.
Engineers absolutely love these old machines. They still use them. And we came up with the idea when we saw an old Herbert, not an old Herbert like Paul, an old Herbert Lay. They still love them. They watch them on LinkedIn and all that. And I really speak to engineers. They say, "Yeah, we've seen you blast past." But a great story. Last night, Gina Tara, our social guru, she was walking down the street, going to the co-op, I hasten to add, and some bloke bellows at her, "Oi, blast from the past, Gina Tara!" And she's like, "What?" Someone actually, she's just walking the car in Wellingborough or finding away. I won't give her address away, but and he recognised her and he said, "I love your show," and she was just like, she was just made up, because sometimes I don't get a lot of feedback, so your comments are really, really appreciated. Please comment on it. Sometimes I don't get that. To get that feedback, it just made her day. Absolutely brilliant.
Who was it, Colin? Do you know who it was?
Yeah, Gina Tara, our social media guru. No, it was Andy Bridgman from Andy Bridgman from Bridgman Engineering in Wellingborough, and we're hoping, as long as we comply with social distancing, to maybe pop in and do a video with him next week.
I've just had a comment come in, Colin, saying that we love Colin's blast from the past. It makes us realise how technology has evolved so significantly over the years.
Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, moving on. Right, again, a little. The next subject: finance. Don't glaze over. Have you spoke to engineers, suppliers? What they do with finance? Because the banks are overwhelmed at the moment. So, a quick 30 seconds, Gio. What do you think?
I think we've recently done a podcast, haven't we, with Paul Cox regarding finance. I don't want to go too deeply into it, really, because obviously we've got that podcast that's coming out shortly, which will give a lot of advice on how to acquire finance. But what I do want to touch upon, Colin, one of your first questions when you started the podcast is, should people be investing during this COVID-19? And I think it's all dependent on, do you want to progress still? I think that if you're still busy, I think it is a good time. It's an opportunity to invest and get a really good deal. I think that the only thing in life that is certain is that change is inevitable. And I think that there's still work out there. That work will change. We all need to adapt. But there's certainly no better opportunity to get some capital equipment at a very, very good price. So to the answer to that question, I think yes, definitely. There's still a good argument to say that you should be investing, and there's money available from the banks and also finance available if you need help.
Okay. Gio, thank you very much for that. One point I'd like to make is, see this script I spent ages writing and everything? The bit about investments at the very last bit there, so you've ruined my whole script.
Oh, sorry,
anyway.
Colin. Sorry.
Anyway, Paul, any thoughts on finance or?
Yeah, I was listening to the radio, which I do quite a lot at the moment. Certainly at the weekends, listening to what's happening with the funding for certain aspects of industry, not just industry but retail and all the rest of it. And these government sort of grants and back loans. There were 80% government funding, and of course 20% of the onus was put onto the lender, which is obviously causing a problem. And I did hear of a guy that came on, and he was looking to borrow money, cash. He needed cash quickly, and he needed to get the 6 months bank statements from all of his shareholders. He needed to get, and it was something like a 16-page document that he needed to fill out, which was quite clearly put in place to become almost like an obstacle. And I think that's where the difficulty has become when you look in other countries where the government have backed 100% of this and they haven't relied on the lender for the 20%. And I kind of see both sides of the story there. The lender doesn't want to get caught. So they're going to be as strict as they can with their lending. So it has been a bit of a difficult time. I haven't personally spoken to any engineers that have had a problem or are looking for funding. You probably have, because you're closer to that than me. But I think with all these things, one of the things I would say is that, it's such a unique situation that for the government to get everything right is absolutely impossible. I think they've done a sterling job thus far. I know they've got their critics, and I know people, we're listening to the press conferences every day, and the journalists seem to be coming out with the same questions and they don't seem to be answering them. But the reality is they don't know. This is unknown territory and unknown ground for them. There was one other point I want to pick up on, which I did hear your podcast last week where you said you liked Piers Morgan. Now, I'd probably go against that because I think he speaks a lot of sense, but he's a bit of a bully in my opinion. And I think if we had someone at our place that conducted their interview manners in the same way as him, I don't think they'd last very long. But he's got an audience, so there you go.
No, well, Paul, did I say I liked him? Yeah, I probably did, but he's got a lot of advocates. I think he's built his brand even more. I don't know. Anyway, but we're not getting into political debate. We're not getting to the Piers Morgan debate. There's a gag there somewhere, but I'm going to move on because it's not correct for this thing. What about? I know we are MTD ourselves are looking to. I've just had a message come up. What brand is the wine? Well, you need to message Gio about that later. He should be able to sort you out. Well, the oil prices come down, so his wine prices come down as well. I'm not saying more about the content. I've been distracted there. If I said our audience is global, I'm Paul and Gio, as you know, I'm a Globetrotter. We're doing MTD Global. All my trips pretty much have been cancelled, apart from the one we did in Dubai at Steel Fab in January. But Gio, if I said to you about the measuring hero, what does that mean? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, we've still all been really busy creating content for our clients, whether that be with Mac or whether that be still producing technical corners, daily news, whatever we can produce, we're producing and we're adapting the best way we can as a company as well. I had a fantastic phone call yesterday, I believe, from Zeiss, saying that they're trying to arrange a question time with Jay from Zeiss. He's the measuring hero, so they call him, that works all the way around the world promoting Zeiss. So that's a show that you will definitely need to tune in to, which is still being scheduled into the diary, Colin. So that's still being negotiated. I've actually got a call with Zeiss after we come off this actual podcast. But some really exciting stuff happening. You know, it's been brilliant. We had a discussion the other day. Obviously, the situation is not brilliant, you know, for anyone. But, you know, we've got to try and remain as positive as we possibly can. But there's some real positive stuff that's coming out from it as well. You know, talking to Nick Peter from Heimbrook, you know, on Monday, in Monday's question time, he was mentioning that, you know, they've started to work a lot more remotely now. So they used to travel up the motorway, 200 miles up the motorway to install a chuck. Now they're using remote technology to be able to tell their clients how to install it themselves. And he says after we come out of lockdown, that's something that they're going to continue because it's just saving so much time for the employer. It's saving petrol, it's saving the environment. So there's definitely positives that are coming out from it as well.
Gio, I'm going to come back to my point earlier. Well, first of all, this one with the hero. Do you think this podcast will it measure up?
It's a good question.
That's this script. You know this script. That was my second but last point that you've just stolen out. Honestly, I bother. I actually don't know why I bother. Any thoughts from you in terms, you know, it's difficult times now. We've definitely adapted, and I think it's been a great opportunity for MTD to showcase the great team we've got and what we could do, and it's all digital. It's absolutely fantastic. But any thoughts about adaptation, evolution? Where are you on the evolutionary scale even?
That one's fired at me. Sorry, I didn't quite hear you listening, Colin, but I was waiting. I was listening to the question. Adapting is the word that everybody's using at the moment. You know, it's adapting, and I know you've got on your script as you've screwed up now about you know, investment and all the rest of it. So maybe I'll come back to that one. But I do think it's very important now to adapt quickly. I think there are a lot of companies that have taken this opportunity to, and rightly so in some instances, furlough staff because they can't afford to keep them on. Their businesses, you know, are going through difficult times. But if you're not in that situation and you can adapt to these set of circumstances, you learn a lot. And I tell you what, we have learned so much in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Normally we're learning about the technology, the machines and the tooling products, and we're still doing that, but we're having to learn as well about how to portray those messages digitally, and I think we're doing a really good job of it so far. I think everybody is, testament to everyone in the team, apart from you, Colin, with the scripts.
Yeah, sorry, that's my fault actually, Colin. I'm sorry. I do hold my hands up. I've just looked, and you are correct. So sincere apologies about that, Colin.
What can I say? Anybody listening to this, all I can apologise. I can apologise for these two. I think we're going to wrap it up here. From a personal perspective, yeah, we talk about investment in different situations, but I think, yes, we're in a negative place, but I think there's going to be a lot of positives coming through it. You know, Gio, like you said about people can do these, you know, they're doing it virtually, the FATs, they're signing off equipment and things like that. They're doing that virtually. I know ABB Robotics, they used to travel to Sweden and do it in 2.5 days travel time and blah, blah. They're doing it virtually, you know, over the digital media. So there's a lot of positives. You're going to be able to streamline. You're looking, and a great time to invest because machine tool companies have got some great deals on there at the moment as well. So you need to get in contact with your reps there because they keep them on their toes, but there's some great deals. So positives, and engineers, companies like that are going to look at the whole way they're moving forward, and they're going to streamline, and it gives them time to reflect, I think. But Paul, are you listening?
Listening.
Final bits from you. Do you think, you know, we're in a negative place now? Where do you think, very, you know, succinctly, where do you think we're going to be?
I think that I think my screen's a little gone off, so hopefully you can still see me. I think everyone is saying that we're adapting well and things are going to change, and I think that they will change a bit. However, I do believe that we are, you know, I do think that a lot will go back to normal. I do think that we talk about how we're doing this now like this, and we're doing other filming in different methods, and engineers are having to do things differently because of the situation. I do think that time is a great healer, and I do think that in a few months' time we'll look back on this as a really difficult time in our history, but some hopefully where the country's all come together, we've got through it, and I think people will quickly get back to a lot of their old habits. That's not a bad thing because we weren't I don't think we were doing a lot wrong. But when I say back to our bad habits, I don't think we were doing things really badly in the first place, because things like you talk about automation, they were happening anyway. You know, the pace might just have increased slightly, but you know, I've been to Thanet not so long ago, and there are still installations of robots, you know, in all kinds of applications, artificial intelligence. All of these things were on stream. All this has done, this situation, is bring them to the surface. And they'll probably dip a little bit as well for people that don't necessarily need them or have to embrace them. But they'll still be there, and they'll still be growing. And, you know, we'll still be talking about them. And the question about investment, I do think that this is a very good time to invest. I was talking to someone the other day that said to me about this is a time when entrepreneurs really set the scene for what's happening, because they're getting ahead of the curve. It's not possible for a lot of people to make leaps and you know, invest money at this stage. But if you can, there are opportunities out there. I know, obviously, Gio's you know, stocks and shares and everything that he talks about, he can afford to do that, you know, and that's very good for Gio. You know, but I do think that at the moment, if you do have a bit of entrepreneurial flair, don't let this 6 weeks, 7 weeks, however long it's been, 8 weeks, pass you by. Use this time to think about getting yourself ahead of the game. Final point, and I probably said that was my final point. Yeah, you were right, Colin. The petrol or the fuel does taste better than Gio's wine. And that's why.
Thank you for that. A long 30 seconds by anybody's measurement. Gio, any thought? You've got 10 seconds, mate.
Yeah, no, I think that no one knows how it's going to change things completely at the minute. It's still very unknown. But I'd like to think that hopefully it will make us better people, and it'll make us appreciate things a lot more. You know, stuff that we took for granted in the past, hopefully we won't take for granted in the future. I totally agree with everything that Paul says about opportunity. I think that, you know, when things change, it creates opportunity, and you can't just stay still. You need to be looking to be ahead of the curve. You need to be looking at different angles and looking at things from a different angle. You can't work in the same way because the playing field has changed. So you need to change with it. And there's lots of ways in which you can do that. And we've all got to change as the human race. I think things will never be exactly the same. But I'd like to think that definitely we'll get back to how it was as soon as possible. You know, I can't wait to see my family personally. You know, that's the biggest thing for me.
Did you out?
Sorry?
Has your missus kicked you out then?
Well, she will do soon, I think, if we don't get out of this lockdown. No, it's been great to.
I'm going to wrap it up there, Gio, only because I've just had a message online that my nephew wants to play me on PlayStation. I don't like it because he keeps beating me, but this is technology. He's learned a few new swear words, but I think some great comments from you guys. Looking forward to the match show. That's going to be absolutely fantastic. It really is. New technology, everything like that we're turning, and looking at investment and things like that. Great opportunities. And we are, you know, negative environment, probably not ish, but negatives we could definitely turn it into a positive. I am going to enjoy my wine appreciation night with one of Gio's specials. I've only drunk half the bottle so far. Gentlemen, Gio, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Any comments, bang them in wherever you can on the screens. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much. The MTD podcast lockdown special, and we hopefully don't have to do too many more, but we've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.